is tape C3.
This is Laura Beard.
Laura Beard.
Yes. Now, Mrs. Beard, what we're going to do is simply talk to you exactly the way we did the other day, and we want all the kinds of things that you told us.
Oh, well, I can't remember.
Well, we'll remind you, because we've got...
Speed.
Okay. Remember, you were telling me about what it was like when you first went into the mills.
When I first went into the mill in '29, well, it was kind of rough, and we didn't know what we was doing, but we thought we had a good thing. When we got in there, well, they took advantage of us in a lot of ways, and they didn't do the things that we thought they should, and they didn't pay for our labor. Then if we didn't do what they said do, they'd pick especially on the people who had only one worker in the family. There was no way they could quit. But they'd fire them every time they started out at the door and hire them back before they got downstairs. And then they'd put them on the dirtiest work there was. Sometime we'd make work 12 hours for 50 cents or maybe a little more. Work 60 hours for $4 or $5 for a family of 4. And we just had to do something about it. So some guy came along and told us that if we pay him $1 and give, that he would help us to organize and get some money for our family and get balance with the organization where we could make something for our family. So he took all of our money, walked out and left us, got us pulled us out on strike, and walked out and left us.
Mm-hmm.
And
Now, I wonder if you could go back and tell us what it was like working in the mill.
well, that's what I'm saying. They put whatever they wanted us to do, regardless of whether we made anything. And they didn't do only that. They just talked to us like we were animals, and they called us dirty names and said, these people out there with no clothes and no shoes on, it'll take your job, and we don't need you. And we lived in all that kind of stuff until this man came along, and he came along and pulled us out for 7 years, of course.
Now, let's go back, and could you tell us, you told us that you worked at night and had to keep your children at home. Could you start off telling us about being a single mother and then so forth?
Yeah, well, that's my personal life there from when we came here and worked 12 hours at night. So I had a 10 months, a 3-year, and a 5-year-old child. We'd feed them at night because they'd be sleeping. So we'd feed them at night and let them sleep. And then the next day, well, if we got any sleep, we'd have to let the babies crawl and look, see where we were, and whether we had someone to find in the bed. Pull them down and open their eyes and say, they're not asleep, they're awake now. And so they went on like that, and then whenever they got caught up with it and all that stuff, and they just pulled out and left everybody with no work or no anything, and they just laid everybody off that they wanted to, and then they kept them off till trying to force them, and all of it stayed. Well, they had to sign a paper that they would never mention the union again, so us stubborn people just wouldn't take it. So we stayed out 7 years before we'd take it. Finally, well, we made it, but we maybe didn't make it for ourselves, but the thing about it we thought about was our starving babies.
Could you tell us how you made a living during those 7 years.
Well, with any kind of work it would honestly do, from scrubbing floors, picking cotton, doing whatever there was, and sewing for the public. I sold them many a baby dress for a nickel.
Could you do that again? Tell me that again.
I made many baby clothes for a nickel apiece out of flour sacks. And the grown people, I sold all that I could get, flour sacks or anything to make for people. So I made clothes from a nickel for infants, 10 cents for toddlers, 15 cents for women and school children, and worked just whatever we could get to do.
Now, why did you join the union?
To try to make it better for others. If we didn't get it for ourselves, we would be accomplishing something for the babies we buried and didn't have. So if it doesn't benefit us, we're standing up for them. I have to blubber sometimes. That has to go with it. But the worst thing that they ever did, the worst thing I think anybody could ever do, when that strike was over, and they laid off the ones that didn't sign the paper, they took them and they went out in the country and they hired help to replace them. They threw everybody in their village. I wasn't in the village, thank the Lord, but they throwed me out where I couldn't pay rent, and I didn't have no place to go either with 3 babies. But the ones that was in the plant houses, they threw them out on the sidewalk, clothes and all. One particular family, I'll never forget, they had a little invalid boy, 12 years old. They had 4 little children. They sat them on the sidewalk in the rain with that baby on the cot and watched him die. That's right. You could go up and down that street there in that cotton mill village and all over town and find the people on the sidewalks, on the streets, and on the shelters because they had no place to go and no job.
Now, you told me something about the way the bosses used to speak to you.
Well, everybody spoke to us just like we was dogs and called us all anything they wanted to. Not reasonable, but unreasonable.
What did you do in the mill?
I worked in a spool room at the last part. It was called winding room to begin, but it was spool room. I stayed in it all the 25 years I worked.
Now, you were telling me something about the time when they had child labor in the mill.
Well, I didn't get here till after that. See, they got that right, I don't remember what year, but they got it before 29. They had got that settled. But it's like I was telling you the other day, if you had have gone, well, I say, I don't believe that this particular girl has been dead 5 years. It was one of them that the 12-year-old boss man whipped with the hickories on the soap boxes where they had to put soap boxes down for them to walk to reach the machines. And she died with stripes on her legs. She could have told you plenty. And there's a lot of them that was. But you got too late for them. But
No.
maybe it won't be too late for these children that's coming up.
Now, could you tell me about being on the picket line?
Oh no! Now that picket line, we did everything good and right and bad, and everything like that. But we didn't let them even know we worried. because we danced and well and sang and had service and had singings and made big wash pot full of chicken and dumplings and all that kind of stuff and everything was just fine. We didn't have but I believe we had 3 cars. One of them got in with 3 people in it, but we never did see them come out. But the 2 of them, we turned them over on the side and they didn't make it any farther. So we didn't have any trouble on the front gate where I stayed all the time. But we didn't even have a bloodshed of the whole days that we were out there. But we sang all night with them just inside, and just like we was didn't happy as we could be.
How long were you on the picket line?
72 days. I was there 71. I missed one day.
Why did you miss that day?
Well, my baby had the snivels. So I decided I better stay home with him. Because he had made it from 10 months old to then, so he was doing pretty good.
Now, tell us about living in a mill house.
I only lived in the mill house 3 years, so I lived in the mill house 30, 31, and 32. But things were okay when I left the mill. I just got out of the mill because houses because I wanted to. But it didn't make much difference where we lived at the time. All of us who was laid off, it had to rent. Well, there wasn't one out of 100 of the landlords that would keep us in the houses. We had to find some other place to live. We lived outdoors, indoors, under shelters, and was one place or another. My children and I have lived in hay barns on the side of the road. We made it. We made it. And with the help of God and the people that's good, we're still making it.
How many children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren do you have?
Oh, Lord, you'd have to count it from now on. I have 3 children, 6 grandchildren, 7 great-grandchildren, 1 great-great-grandchild. Then I'm a stepmother of 2 different families. And between my last husband and I, we had 23 grandchildren. And so we have, of that, we have 6 great-great-grandchildren. And out there, I don't know. They strolled from here to New York, California, and everywhere. I just talked to one this morning. They lived in Chicago and Tennessee and Florida and everywhere. But I had my boys, well, that one you met here, well, he went in service and he went through World War II. And the other one went to Japan and rebuilt what they had tore down. So they all have wonderful grown children and grandchildren coming up.
How old are you?
84. I'm only 84. So I tell you what, I had a brother that just passed away less than 2 years ago. That he had a birthday on the 16th of February, his 99th birthday.
Now, do you have any advice for young textile workers?
Get acquainted with the property owners before you get in there, and see if you can cooperate with their rules and regulations. And if you go in there with a heart of uniting, and you can unite with the management and the labor together, and give an honest day's work and get an honest day's pay. And that way, if you start out that way and it don't work, it won't work at all.
Would you recommend that people join the union?
That's the only way in the world. The word union covers so much ground. It is not only for labor, it is for our spirit, our lives. And if we unite together, that's a union that'll hold forever. And if we unite as a person and be all be people, we can do that. These that carry the money and these that carry the weight, if they all consider their people. And otherwise it won't work. So sometimes you have to pull some little tricks on them and get a little excitement. But anyway, we got some back on some of them bosses. When we went back in there, the point was they still had them bosses and overseers that we had when we stayed out for 7 years. That's where we had it from. They thought they could still do what they did before. So I just got to tell you about the little rats. So they throw back pieces of yarn, you know what it's called, and the little mice and rats would get in, and